mai. It is 9 minutes past 8 o'clock here on 531 PI. A number of Pasifika trailblazers have been named on the University of Auckland's 40 under 40 list for 2021. Now, that 40 under 40 initiative actually recognises graduates who have achieved exceptional success within their profession and have made a community impact while aged in their 20s or 30s. Our next guest, Lanu Faletau, is on that prestigious list. Now, she was born in Tonga. She holds 3 degrees, majoring in sociology and minoring in Pacific Studies, which also includes a master's in law, specialising in international law. She is currently a practicing lawyer in litigation, regulatory and enforcement matters, and a mentor and member of the Auckland Women's Lawyers Association. But outside of the law, she's also a plus-size model and is a proud body positivity advocate. So with that, I say malo pito and welcome to the show, Lanu.
Thank you so much for having me, Aggie.
Oh, love it. Thank you so much. Look, before we get into the Dalano, we always do sort of check in with our guests and just want to ask, how have you though, Lanu, with maybe your bubble or your family been during lockdown?
I mean, I think we're all kind of feeling the end of lockdown blues where we just kind of want to get out of it, but we've been keeping ourselves busy. I've been counting my blessings more than cursing what's been going on, just in the sense that I've had the time to actually spend with my family, like teach myself how to cook, nice. And just get to hang out with my nieces, which is not something that I can always do all the time.
Beautiful. Okay, well, I'm glad you're well there, Lanu. As I said in the introduction, of course, we know that you hailed from Tonga, but we'd love to hear what villages you represent, your family and your upbringing, I suppose, here in Aotearoa.
Yeah, so I'm from Vava'u. I'm from a small island called Taonga, and we always say it's one of the smallest islands of Tonga, but we've got the biggest heart. So I was born in Tonga, grew up, went to primary school there, and then moved over to New Zealand for boarding school, and basically have just been here since. It's been an incredible journey, just being able to migrate over to New Zealand and kind of do everything that I dreamed of.
Are you the only child though, or you have some siblings?
No, so I have 2 older brothers and 1 younger sister, and they kind of went through similar kind of story as me. We grew up in Tonga and then they moved over to New Zealand for school. One brother's living in Australia, and my other brother and my youngest sister is living in New Zealand.
So I hear, so yes, you moved from Tonga all the way here to New Zealand at the age of 13. Am I correct? Was it 13 years that you?
12, when I was 12.
Yeah. What's that been? Was there any sort of challenging things that you sort of had to try and adapt to, I suppose, the culture here in New Zealand?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the main thing that I realized coming from Tonga to New Zealand is that there is a huge Pacific Island community in New Zealand, and that it feels very much like home because of that. And, obviously my family all kind of came here, but culturally, things that I found to be a little bit difficult to navigate would have to be, I think, just like the conservative nature of coming from, a country that's relatively conservative, and then coming to a country that really embraces your individuality and wanting you to do what you want to do and express yourself and all that kind of stuff. So being able to balance both of that has been quite, I mean, I think anyone with a dual identity will agree that it's not easy, especially Pacific living overseas, but it's something that we just do it. And it's been interesting.
No, but look, in the time that you've been here, though, in such a small space of time, Lanu, I must say, to then now be recognised in the Auckland University's 40 under 40 list for 2021 for the work that you've been done. I mean, what was your initial reaction to being recognised?
Honestly, just really privileged. I was really humbled because the 40 under 40 list is not something that you can apply for. So I felt really honoured that I was even considered. And one of my really good friends was recognized in, I think it was like 2018. And we had kind of spoke about it in 2019. And so, it's just, now it's 2021. And it was just a huge honor because obviously the University of Auckland is highly esteemed. There's over 200,000 alumni. And to be a part of the list for 40 under 40 is just, it's a huge honor for me.
I mean, with all the things that you've accomplished, though, Lanu, as I read in the beginning, with holding 3 degrees, education must seem very important to you, though. What was it around those things that you studied that stood out? That this is what you want to do with your life?
Yeah, and thank you. That's exactly right. I think education is one of the best tools that we can equip ourselves. Whether we use it for the specifics, like, a lot of people that I know who study law, they're not lawyers. They go off and do other things. And I think just having the fundamentals of being able to be analytical and critical and be able to dismantle things academically and have sound and reasoned arguments as to why you support something or disagree with something, that really is the driving force as to why I'm so passionate, not just about education, but other Pacific people also valuing the investment that it is to get an education. And so I think the main thing that really drove that was being part of the Tuakana program in the University of Auckland. So that's basically where high achieving students were matched, and they had different classes within their cohort. And we basically mentored and tutored our students. And before that, I honestly had never really had that type of connection, like particularly with my Pacific and Maori cohort. And so that really was the driving force for me realizing that equitable programs do come out with fantastic outcomes that we actually see the difference with that. And I think that I was actually talking to one of my best friends, she's another Tuakana alumni, and we were saying that most of the people that we had taught as Tuakanas are now like exceptional people who are doing incredible things. And so it's not just a face value, let's just focus on Pacific and Maori. No, this is actually making a difference. And so I think that that's kind of what the driving force was. And it just reignited my passion for connecting with people. And it fits in well with advocacy and being a lawyer. And yeah, just continued that on.
Love it. No, thank you for sharing that. If you're just tuning in, we're catching up with lawyer and model Lanu Faletau. I want to take it back to 2019, though. You were actually selected as one of the 200 inaugural Obama leaders, for Asia Pacific region, representing not just New Zealand, but of course Tonga. What was that for you?
Oh, that wasn't. I honestly, it's still a surreal. It's still a surreal experience to even talk about. And yeah, it was just a huge honor to be able to represent, obviously, 2 countries that I consider to be home. And I was one of only 2 Tongan representatives who were selected. It was myself and another friend, and we're now friends, of HENA, who she's doing incredible work as well. And yeah, it was just an incredible experience to be able to network with 200 other incredible leaders and hearing the journey that they've gone through and how they're navigating adversity. And of course, this is all pre-COVID. So the nature of the way things have changed so quickly is obviously something that we're all aware of. But yeah, it was just an incredible experience to be able to go there and continue to hone our skills in an area that we're in a leadership area that we're all obviously very passionate about.
Is there any sort of highlight moments that stood out though while you were there?
Yes, I think building school chairs and tables with Julia Roberts and then meeting Michelle and Barack Obama. That was really cool. That was definitely the highlight.
Oh, love it. No, that's great. Now, just to step away though from the work that you actually do, you are also a model and you're all about promoting that body positivity. Was this something that you always wanted to get into?
Honestly, no. And that was because growing up, it was never something that I thought was ever possible. And there was a very particular standard when I was a teenager. It was very gothic, white, blonde, blue-eyed girl who looks really thin. And so it was like a wafy trend. And so it was just never something that I ever thought could be a possibility, especially being Pacific Islander, because we just never had any Pacific Island representation in the industry. And so it was just, it was something that has happened accidentally, but it has grown into something that I really love as well.
Love. And then even last year, you were selected for Fashion New Zealand as a model. I mean, what was that opportunity like for you?
That was cool. It was really cool. yeah, we got to, sorry, did you mean the Fashion NZ?
Fashion NZ, yes, yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool because I got to meet, it was like 8 other women as well, and it was about making positive change in the industry. And I got to meet other incredible women who were, who are obviously making a difference in New Zealand's fashion industry. It's something that I feel quite passionately about, because growing up, Pacific women in particular were so, there's so much confidence that's instilled in being bigger that it's never something that we thought of. They're always like, oh, sino lele, when you're bigger. It's something that's so embraced. And then coming to New Zealand, it's something that's almost like, oh my gosh, she's so big because she's Islander, as if it's a bad thing.
Right.
And so being able to reclaim that, and then have Pacific girls come up and be like, oh my God, I saw you on Farmers, and I was so happy because I was able to buy the clothes because now I know it'll fit me or it'll look good on me. And that's just like, yeah, it just blows my mind.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Lanu. What's next though? Are you working on anything right now? What's the priority for you at the moment?
I have a few things, but I think that the probably the priority one that I'm going to be focusing on is so I facilitated a conference last year, a panel of like incredible lawyers and judges. And so I want to continue to do that, where we are highlighting Pacific representation and being able to equip young students who are studying law, young female students who are studying law, with the tools for them to hopefully feel confident enough to get into practice or to litigate, or to feel confident enough that or potentially in the future after whatever it is they're doing. So I'm looking to potentially hold, fingers crossed, in person panel discussion on female advancement in the criminal justice system, particularly to hopefully be able to pick students up from, whoever. Stories, because there's so many amazing female and lawyers and women who's doing things, and I just think that it's something that I need to highlight, and so I'm working towards doing that. But I'm not yet. It may be by Zoom if we're still in lockdown, but I'm just hoping that it will happen.
Yeah, no, well, absolutely. I mean, it'll be great to probably maybe even get your social handles so that people can probably follow your journey and keep up to date with if that does come about. But I would love to hear from you, Lanu. Encouragement, really, your final message or advice to maybe the next generation of Pasifika who are coming up and wanting to step into this space, either within the plus size model area or even just education itself. What would be your word of encouragement?
My word of advice would be to just, we need you. Don't doubt yourself. A moment of doubt is just not worth the journey that it takes to be able to achieve what you want to do. I don't think especially our Pacific girls, I don't think they realize how much we need them in these spaces. And don't let haters or self-doubt or any critical voices change your perception, because there were so many instances where people would tell me, basically say that it wouldn't work. And so if I had listened to them, I wouldn't have done anything I wanted to do. And that would have been a huge shame, because I would have felt like that passion would have been burning inside me and just evaporated. And I just don't want that to happen for any of, our young Pacific who are, hopefully they're super motivated and continue to be so. So yeah, just don't lose hope, and we need you.
Beautiful. Hey, Lanu, look, I know time is upon us, but I do appreciate your time for this morning, and hopefully we get to catch up and we see more of your work in the future.
Oh, thank you so much, Agnes. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
That's all right. That is lawyer and model Lanu Faletau.